Let's get on to my NFL Week 2 picks. I started off pretty strong last week with my Week 1 picks. I went 12-3-1. Of course, we had that tie with the Lions and Cardinals. Give the Cardinals credit for coming back late in that game after the Lions looked like they had everything in hand. But the Detroit Lions are just being the Detroit Lions there. Let's see how I do this week. We start off with the Thursday night game this week. We have the Tampa Bay Bucks traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers. NFC South action. Excuse me. This game will be on the NFL Network. It's going to be exclusive to the network. Should be interesting. Of course, the Panthers lost a close one at home last week to the Rams. The Bucks lost at home to the Niners. I'm taking the Panthers. Are just the better team here, so I'll take the Panthers to win. Sunday action, we have the San Francisco 49ers traveling across the country to Cincinnati to take on the Bengals, a rematch of the Super Bowl from 1989-90 season. Of course, the teams are far away from where they were all those years ago. This is where my upset pick of the week lies. I'm actually going to take the 49ers to go across the country again and beat another team in the Eastern time zone. I'm picking the 49ers to beat the Bengals here as my upset pick of the week. We have the LA Chargers traveling to Detroit to take on the Lions. The Chargers won at home last week against the Colts while the Lions ended in that tie like we mentioned. I'm taking the Chargers to go to Detroit and get the win there. We'll see what happens, but I think the Chargers are just slightly the better team here. NFC North matchup, we have the Minnesota Vikings traveling to Green Bay to take on the Packers. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. The Vikings actually looked pretty strong last week against the Falcons. That was my upset pick when I picked the Falcons. Of course, they lost. Packers got that hard-fought win on Thursday Night Football against the Chicago Bears in a defensive battle. I think there'll be some more points scored here, but maybe not a whole lot more. But I still think the Packers, who've shown me a lot with their defense, because being a Packers fan, we've seen how their defense, especially on the passing side, has really let them down. They were great for the most part against the Bears. I'm picking the Packers at home to beat the Vikings in a close game. AFC South matchup here, we have the Indianapolis Colts traveling to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Of course, the Titans looking very strong last week against the Browns, which I think surprised a number of people. And the Colts played well but lost to the Chargers. The Titans are just a better team here. I'm going to take the Titans over the Colts. AFC East matchup, we have the New England Patriots traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins. And holy cow, the Dolphins last week, the way they looked against the Baltimore Ravens, losing 59-10, that was a shocker. And I know the Dolphins are in a big rebuild mode here, but I did not see them losing that badly to the Baltimore Ravens, who are a good team, but I don't think they're one of the top elite teams in the NFL. The Patriots, they're clearly head and shoulders above the Dolphins here. Give me the Patriots to win easily against the Dolphins, but maybe not by the score according to the line. I mean, the line has them winning by, I think, has them favored by close to 20 points, if I remember right. I don't know if it's going to be that much, because usually the Dolphins give the Patriots all they can handle in Miami, so we'll have to wait and see, but I think the Patriots are still the better team. A rematch of the Super Bowl from the 90-91 season. We have the Buffalo Bills traveling to the Meadowlands to take on the Giants. Of course, for the Giants, we saw Daniel Jones get his first action last week late in the game against Dallas, and the Bills came from behind to beat the Jets. This was a coin flip game for me. I was waffling back and forth on this one, but I'm going to take the Giants at home to win. I think it'll be very close, but I'm picking the Giants to bounce back and get a win here. And another rematch of another Super Bowl. We had the Seattle Seahawks traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers here. Seahawks traveling east. Got a narrow victory against Cincinnati while the Steelers got embarrassed on Sunday night against New England. Again, I think it's a close game. I think the Steelers do bounce back here and they beat the Seahawks to even up their record. NFC East rivalry matchup. Dallas Cowboys traveling to the nation's capital to take on Washington. Washington actually looked pretty good for a while against the Eagles last week before ultimately losing by 5. Cowboys look pretty strong against the Giants. Cowboys are the better team here. It wouldn't surprise me to see Washington play well again against Dallas, but Dallas, I'm picking them because they're just a better team. We have the Arizona Cardinals with Kyler Murray traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens and Lamar Jackson, two young quarterbacks, young stars in the making here. This should actually be a pretty good matchup. I know the Ravens, we mentioned how big they won, and of course, the Cardinals ended in a tie. I'm picking the Ravens to win. I don't think it's going to be by a big score. I think the Lions having the Ravens win by like 13, 14 points, having them favored to win by that much. I think that's a bit overdone. I think Arizona's much better than Miami, and I think Kyler Murray, we saw the good stuff he can do. So it wouldn't surprise me to see the Cardinals keep it close for a while, but I think the Ravens will eventually pull it out. AFC South matchup, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars taking on the Houston Texans in Houston. Of course, the Jaguars, unfortunately, the freak accident and injury to Nick Foles, he's going to be out. Looks like he's going to be out indefinitely with a broken clavicle. Their backup quarterback, he just played well against Kansas City. Now, granted, Kansas City doesn't have the best defense in the world. He looked good in defeat. The Texans, of course, Deshaun Watson. The Texans played a very good game in New Orleans, but just couldn't finish the deal when the Saints came back and won in the end. I'm picking the Texans at home. I think they just have the better quarterback in the matchup here. AFC West matchup, we have the Kansas City Chiefs traveling out to the Bay Area to take on the Oakland Raiders. Of course, the Raiders with the saga with Antonio Brown, which we'll talk about here in a few minutes on the podcast. They actually got a win against Denver on Monday night, and the Chiefs looked good against Jacksonville. The Chiefs, again, are just a better team here. I'm picking the Chiefs to go into Oakland and beat the Raiders. We have the Chicago Bears traveling out to Denver to take on the Broncos. Of course, we mentioned how the Bears lost a defensive battle to the Packers, while the Broncos, for the most part, did not look good against the Raiders. I was actually waffling on this one. Logic says you should take the Bears here because of their defense, but I think the altitude might have something to do with it. You know, it's always something going to Denver in the altitude there, and it does affect players. So I'm going to go against logic. I'm going to pick Denver to win here at home to beat the Bears. I'm probably going to be wrong, but something just tells me to pick Denver here, so we have that. In a rematch from the NFC title game, we have the New Orleans Saints taking on the LA Rams. This time it's in Los Angeles. Of course, we all know what happened there last year. Of course, the Rams picking up a big win against the Panthers last week, and the Saints winning on Monday night at the end with Will Lutz's 58-yard field goal. I think the Rams get it done again. I think this will be a very close game. Could be a shootout. I'm picking the Rams to beat the Saints in which should be a very entertaining and exciting game. The Sunday night football game of the week that's going to air nationally on NBC has the Philadelphia Eagles traveling down to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. Again, we got Matt Ryan, we got Carson Wentz. Should be a very good matchup here. It wouldn't shock me to see a lot of points scored in this one as well. I think it probably will be a shootout. I'm picking the Eagles on the road to beat the Falcons. It wouldn't shock me to see the Falcons win, but I'm going to take the Eagles. I think just for rhyme or reason, it should be a shootout, and I think the Eagles will win. And finally, the Monday Night Football game this week that's going to air on ESPN will feature the Cleveland Browns traveling to the Meadowlands to take on the Jets. Jets being the Jets, they had the lead for most of last week against the Bills, ultimately lost by a point. And the Browns just getting humiliated at home against Tennessee. Typically, it's not a formula for success when you commit more penalties in the game than you score points. They had 18 penalties in that game last week against Tennessee while scoring just 13 points. Usually not the formula for success. I think the Browns do bounce back here. Was it an anomaly or not? I don't know, but I think the Browns bounce back. And I think this was not going to be a high-scoring game either. I think this will be more of a defensive battle. But I'm going to take the Browns to beat the Jets. So those are my official NFL Week 2 picks.